Welcome everyone to Dun& Bradstreet CFO Club. One more interview today. Today we are very privileged to have with us Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, Director of Finance for Microsoft India. Welcome Sanjay.
Thank you, Nana. I'm saying really humbled and privileged to have an interaction with you and share some of my thoughts and runnings from my career. Thank you for inviting me.
Sanjay, before we start, you have very exciting innings in the finance field. You have worked with FMCGs, you have worked with e-commerce, and now you are with the largest tech companies. How has been the journey with you? Tell us a little bit about how has been the entire journey of so many years.
Sure, Nana. So look, if you see my career journey, I'm like a chartered accountant, having 18 years of running experience. People normally call them the experience as a work experience. I humbly believe that it's a learning experience. And for me, I'm saying learning is the most important thing. And really, over the last 18 years, I had a great kind of a career experience in terms of working across different market organizations. So if you see, I started with Sab Mirror, then moved to Nokia, then I joined Hindustan Unilever. I'm saying worked there for about 8 years. Then I wanted to do something different, and that's where I'm saying the e-commerce really was something which was an exciting space. And then I joined Snapdeal for a couple of years, and then for the last 3 years or so, I have been working with Microsoft. What has been very important in across all those 18 years and the organizations which I have really spoken about is how I have been able to maneuver myself in terms of doing different kind of roles. And really, I'm saying what I really feel happy about is that if you see the kind of a breadth of roles which I have done, and also the depth of the learning which I have gone through, I would have touched across every different functions which is there in a finance world. Okay, be it FP&A, be it controllership, be it supply chain finance, project finance, and then also I'm saying specialist functions like a tax and M&A and a treasury as well. So so all in all, I think it's been a great kind of a, as I said, a learning experience, and that is something which I always keep on telling to people who really look for me for advice and coaching.
Sanjay, I'm also interested to understand that it's FMCG, e-commerce, technology. Do you see a changes in priority with sectors as a finance professional? Do you have to, as you said that you've maneuvered across because the sectors are different. So what are the changes that you can notice in your function in these categories?
Look, that's a very interesting question, Nana. If you really ask me, every industry would have its own nuances, the maturity curve which the industry is going through. I'm saying their own business priorities and challenges. So let me give you some examples, some real examples in terms of what I was doing or what the business priority was. Okay, so if I really talk about say FMCG, we were in a stage where I'm saying we had a kind of a brand which was well established in the market. So the role of finance was more about how do you drive a profitable top line and a bottom line. How do you look for efficiencies, okay, across the value chain? How do you then, I'm saying when you have an efficiency, how do you want to reinvest back in terms of driving again it's a virtuous kind of a cycle in terms of how do you drive the top line and the bottom line. Okay, so that is exactly what say I was doing in a kind of a job which I was doing say in FMCG. Okay, now when I moved to e-commerce, I'm saying in 2015 it was a era which we were going through in terms of the e-commerce boom. Okay, I'm saying the companies were really trying to see how they can get more and more footprints of customers coming and I'm saying shopping on the e-commerce platform, and that was a very different thing altogether in terms of the learning and the contribution which you can make as a finance function. Okay, so over there the challenges was a bit different in terms of understanding what is the value which we can bring to the customer, what's the kind of an experience which we can give to the customer. Okay, how do we ensure that we are also profitable. Okay, the
Correct.
processes was not as strong as what today I'm saying some of the established companies are there, especially on industries which is well established over so many years. So if you really look at the role which I was doing in the e-commerce, it was a much wider role. You need to think much ahead in terms of I'm saying how you can actually make a kind of a value for the business and for the shareholders. Okay, now when I come to technology now, it's again a different ball game. I'm saying, and especially post COVID, every customer, every business is going through a transformation. How can you understand what is the customer looking for, And mind you, I'm saying the investment which happens on the R&D side in the technology space is much faster than I'm saying it happens in any other industry. And that is where I'm saying the strategic mindset of how do you invest on the opportunities which is like a 3 years and a 5 years down the line, okay, is something where I'm saying we as finance ends up playing a much bigger role.
Right. You spoke about COVID and you spoke about 2020, and we can't just, that's like one of the biggest thing in our mind. But for the tech industry that you represent, this has been like year of opportunity, right? So as a finance director, what is your feel? I mean, do you call it like a year of great opportunity rather than crisis, or how would you name the year for tech industry?
Look, before I answer that, maybe let me give a perspective to you. Okay, so if you really go and see the Nasdaq market capitalization of the top five companies, say 10 years back, it was essentially companies which was like big conglomerates like the Cokes, the G's of the world. And if you see the market cap of the top five companies today, every company is a tech company. Okay, so this entire transformation has been happening. It's not something which has really happened say because of COVID, but what has really happened is that post COVID, the acceleration of the digital transformation is just gone up. Okay, in the words of Satya, who's our CEO, I'm saying especially the first 2 months, the kind of a digital transformation which we saw from our customers is something which we have not seen over the last 3 to 4 years. So just imagine it was like a 10x kind of a digital transformation which was happening at a rapid pace. And Nana, if you really ask me, I'm saying it's been like a 1 year now post COVID. We are seeing more and more customers coming back to us looking for support, looking for help in terms of how we can transform the entire business into a digital transformation. Okay, I'm saying we've used this word very commonly in Microsoft. In my view, every business is a digital business. There's no business in India which is non-digital.
Correct. Completely agree with you. So now we're talking about growth and so much of disruption. So obviously with growth comes the risk, right? So what are your outlook for risk? How do you manage risk and how do you navigate that?
Look, on a lighter note, I'm an internal optimistic person. So I always believe that I'm saying if ever there's a risk which is there, there's an opportunity as well. Okay.
Got
But on a serious note, yes, I think if I really talk about risk, I would want to divide the risk into two parts. One is something which is more externally oriented. I'm saying especially like look at like an event like a COVID. I think nobody could have predicted. I'm saying something like this would have come, and then I'm saying so how do we really I'm saying manage something like this which is unprecedented, which is something which you need to really be aware of. Okay, in my mind, you can only do it by making sure that your systems and processes, your business model is resilient to any such kind of unoutward events which is there. And that is where I think the leadership of the especially the business decision makers, okay, in terms of the CEOs, the CIOs, and the CFOs needs to be a much bigger role to really think about how do we pivot our business which is insulated with some of these risks which we have seen.
it.
And the other risk which I would really talk about are the business challenges. What can happen in a kind of an external world in terms of the compete, how the customers are really thinking about. Even those things are important. And just not to forget the regulatory kind of a changes which is going to happen. So over there again, it's an important aspect which businesses needs to keep on working on in terms of identifying and making sure that they have really good insights in terms of how they can insulate the business from any such kind of a risk which is there. I spoke a lot. I hope this makes sense in terms of what I'm saying.
Correct. You were talking about, having resilience and having built-in systems. So Microsoft is a pioneer in this, right? So how do you think that technology can help the finance function to ensure that, your risk and opportunities or, go hand in hand and, you can leverage tech in your functioning?
No, again, it's a brilliant thing, and you know today in the context of digital transformation, if you really ask me, I would say tech and finance goes hand in hand. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to share with you, Nana, that in Microsoft, finance has a big say on the table. we have a seat on the table where we really go and work with our business partners in terms of creating the value which we are talking for our customers. Okay, and this has not happened overnight. There's a huge amount of work which has gone behind the scene in terms of finance really adopting tech. Okay, and with that tech kind of an adoption, which we have really started seeing some kind of a value which the business is seeing. So let me give you few examples in terms of what I really want to say. So today I'm saying we have a CRM solution which has been created. Okay, which is what I'm saying every person in the company sees, starting from the CEO way back in US to a CEO which would be sitting in India. Okay, and even to the Las Vegas servers which is sitting in India. We look at the information which is the same information, and the beauty about that information is it really captures all the insights in a visualization method. Okay, which can help me to understand where the risks are and where does the opportunity rise, and then start going and taking those kind of an actionable, you can say, actions. Okay, whatever is required to either grow the business or maybe to insulate the risk which is there. Okay, similarly I'm saying in an organization like Microsoft, which is like $150 billion, we need to have a good understanding about how the forecasting is going to happen. Okay, what is the kind of a forecast or the revenues which we are going to end up quarter on quarter, and that is where there's a good amount of work which we have done, especially on the technology side, on account of machine learning and artificial intelligence, which helps us to really gives us those insights and predictive insights in terms of how the revenue is going to come for the quarter. And then of course you can go and double click some of the assumptions, and make sure that you bring those local insights on top of it to make sure that you are pretty confident about those numbers. And what it really helps you, it can help you to start thinking about how the investments needs to happen, how you do maximize the returns on the investment. Otherwise you may end up using huge amount of money on the table which could have been used in terms of deployment for higher growth. So these are the places, and I can keep on sharing more and more examples, but really in the interest of time I just wanted to be very precise about two examples, which is something which we do day in day out. Okay, this is like a daily job for us as a finance function.
Since you spoke about, correct forecasting is how important it is. So how, what is the role data and analytics play in that kind of forecasting? So how you, marry data and analytics with technology in your function?
So look, as I said, in today's digital information era, which we are talking about, the footprint of data is ever increasing.
Correct.
What is important when we talk about data analytics? It's nothing but it's like a science in terms of how do you get insights from those data. So the way we use the data is to really get those insights which we can then help and go back to the business and tell them that these are the places they need to really focus on, these are the actions they need to really start taking. Okay, and also these insights help us, as I said, in terms of thinking about the future investment we want to do. So if you really ask me, the difference what a traditional, say, finance function used to do was to churn out the report after everything has happened. As against a data analytics is nothing but gives you a very predictive analysis to tell you that these are the three things which you need to do. And basis that three things, you can then start, I'm saying, acting on that. So it's not about crunching and trying to unearth what has happened. It's more about going and taking those kind of an actions because this is the insight which is coming out of this analytics.
Of course, of course. So once we are talking about data analytics and how technology, so what do you think the future of finance is like? Do you see a lot of disruption? Do you see new invention? What do you think in your mind?
No, I think finance is at a pivotal, you can say, center stage of the disruption which is happening. And I would really say that, I'm saying, given what I have seen in Microsoft and given the way I'm seeing with the customers which we end up engaging, look, think about one function which understand the end to end of the business. It's finance. The definition of a CFO used to be chief financial officer. I'm sure, I'm saying, there's different new acronyms which is coming out. It is like the chief future officer, the chief value officer, the chief plus plus plus. I'm saying you can keep on adding all the acronyms. But on a serious note, the role of finance is to really understand how do we leverage the technology to really, I'm saying, help the business and the shareholders in terms of maximizing the value, keeping this customer at the center stage of everything which we do. And that is where finance plays a very important role. And in my view, finance is going to play a much bigger role than what they have been doing traditionally in this entire transformation which is happening on the technology side.
Correct. Um, would you, I mean, Sanjay, would you be able to give us some examples of, in your career, some of the collaboration that you have done with, CEOs, and so, to give maximum value to the shareholders, some of the things that our viewers can learn from?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm saying, look, I let me share. I'm saying couple of examples in one example from each of my. I'm saying the companies which I've worked over the last. I'm saying last 10 years. Okay, so if I really talk about say Microsoft today, I'm saying I'm working with. I'm saying as part of my job as a commercial director. Okay, to really I'm saying incubate a new business model starting from scratch. Okay, so what we had done is really understand what are the next growth engines which is going to be there in India. Once we have understood that these are the two areas which we really want to focus on, I have created a kind of a business models in collaboration with my business stakeholders, okay, in terms of seeing how do we scale up this business, what is the kind of an investment which is required, what is our strategy which is going to be in terms of the go-to market, okay. So everything is like a close knitted kind of a core team which has come together in terms of working on this opportunity, and the initial you can say uh, at least what we are seeing from the customers and from our partners, we are getting very positive response on this modeling which we had done. If I go back to my previous company, like I'm saying where I was working in an e-commerce, I'm saying it was a total. I'm saying a startup is a very different ball game altogether. The scale at which you operate is a different ball game altogether. So my role out there was to really look at how do we drive efficiencies, and supply chain is one. I'm saying critical element of the cost structure out there. So and I'm saying if you understand e-commerce, reverse logistics is one piece where the most amount of inefficiency which is there. So we created different you can say models where we can help in terms of optimizing the cost which is there, and that is the kind of a value which I think finance was able to bring to the business stakeholders, okay. And then if I go back to my I'm saying stint in Unilever, I'm saying I was running the entire finance transformation program for the company, okay. So again, it was a global program and India was the lead country. So how do you really I'm saying drive those kind of a transformational kind of a changes which can help the function and the company to really scale up and look for the future in terms of how you would want to service your customers, because mind it, the customer is not going to pay for your inefficiencies. So how do you create an organization which is going to be more agile, more efficient, and at the same time I'm saying drive a better efficiency for the company.
Right. That brings me another question. This is a little bit on, like you said that, agility and fast decision making is important for finance function. So today, if you have to recruit for your team, what kind of people, what kind of acumen you are looking at in a finance professional who are likely to be the leaders of tomorrow?
Look, in the past, technology was never, you can say, a skill set which we used to look, okay, in terms of hiring resources. But in today's world, if a resource is coming and if he doesn't have, you can say, a basic bent of technology, or understands, I'm saying, the systems and processes, how the reporting happens, I think I would be very skeptical about I'm saying adding something like a resource like that. And again, different functions may have different kind of a requirement. So that is like a important skill set which I look at. I'm saying when I go to hire any candidates, apart from the other things which might be a functional expertise, it could be something like an attitude which is super important for me. I'm saying other softer skills like collaboration. What is the kind of a thought leadership he carries? Okay, so these are some other aspect which I really look into whenever I go and hire any I'm saying a team member for my team.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. Thanks so much for taking your time out and talking to us. It's been really a pleasure.
Thank you, Nana. I'm saying you really provoke me on some of the questions, which was very nice. But I must say, I'm saying just as a concluding remark from my side, I think as a function, finance is going to play a very pivotal role on this entire transformation which is happening, and we should not be averse with the changes which is happening around. We should be look forward to embrace some of these changes, because that's really going to be the next level of the value which we can bring to the business. And that is what I would really recommend to every, I'm saying, person who's going to listen to this kind of a conversation which we had. But thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.